Do you think one tool could completely transform your business? Probably not, but I'm here to tell you that there's one tool that we have found in our business, Bison CFO, as fractional CFOs, that has completely transformed every business that we've been a part of. Today, I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to walk you through what all of this means and how you can apply it yourself. Now, you may be thinking, because we're fractional CFOs, that this is some sort of financial toolbook that we implement. And while we do that stuff, what we found most impactful is often stepping back and thinking about the business model as a whole. And the tool that we use to think about the business model and talk to the business owner and leadership about the business model is this tool that is known as the business model canvas. You may be asking, wait, aren't you doing financial stuff? What do you care about the business model? And here's the truth. Until we understand the business model, and even more importantly, until you fully understand the business model, we can't make the changes financially that we need to help you get the results that you're looking for. And so by walking through the business model canvas, even in business owners that have been leading their business for 15, 20 years have come away from this process and found big wins, things that they didn't even realize. It's a simple sitting down and walking through this process is extremely powerful and can be a lens and a common language to look at your business in the future. So today we're going to walk through the 9 parts of this business model canvas, and we're going to talk about what each of them are and how you can fill this out yourself to start thinking about your business a little bit differently and getting results. So we're going to start. There's really 2 sections to this business model canvas. The first section is the external model. These are the things that we're looking outside of the business and all of the relationships of those things. The next is the internal side of this business model. And this is where, again, these are the back of the house and the things that are supporting the things that are external. We think of the external side as the market-facing side and the internal side as the operational backbone. The key is that we want to think about how these are all interconnected. And we're going to talk about this as we walk through, but all of the external side is connected, all of the internal side is connected, and then the relationship between the internal and the external as well. So let's jump right in to the first piece that we talk through, and this is going to be the customer segments. The customer segments in some way is one of the most important boxes. There's one box that I think is more important and often overlooked, but the customer segments is just asking, who are the distinct groups of people that you sell to within your organization? Who has different pain points? Who has different expectations? Who has different needs? This can be as simple as looking at your revenue line, if you're tracking different revenue lines and thinking about those customer segments within those revenue lines. This can be thinking about the different industries that you serve. You can even go more narrow, as if there's 2 different sets of people within the same industry. You may want to separate those out. We don't want to get crazy with this, and we don't want to come up with 10 or 15 different ones, but we also don't want to be legalistic, because that's got to be a certain way. Just think through, what are the different people that we serve, and write those down. And we'll start there. We can add more later if we need to. Next, we have the value proposition. And this is by far the most important segment of the business model canvas. This is one that when we ask people what their value prop is, they say that we deliver great value to the client. We're best in class, right? But all of those things can be true, but they can also not be true. They're not things that differentiate you from your competitors. So in this value prop, we're asking the question, why did they pick you? And if the answer to that question is something that can also be true about your competitor down the street, then it's not your true value driver. So think of this not as a service list. Think of this as a combination of specific benefits that solve the specific problem for the groups, the customer segments that you're serving. We want to list out those things that are unique to us and think about it in terms of what value prop are we delivering to each customer segment? And they can be different for each customer segment. Once we've identified those value props, we're going to think in terms of channels. And channels are simply how you get your value prop to the customer segment. So ask, what ways does your business reach and interact with customers or prospective customers? Is it direct sales and marketing? Is it through an RFP or bid process? Is it digital marketing? What are the channels that you reach your customers through? And again, we want to think in terms of the relationship between value prop and then how you deliver that value prop to your customer segments. Once we understand this, we can go in and talk about the customer relationship. And this is the business's relationships with its customer and how you interact with them. It's how do you expect your customers to interact with you? And then does that interaction, again, that relationship between that value prop and that customer segment, does it align with what that customer segment would want? So you can have really high touch customers and you have the value prop that is you can deliver that value to them. But if that customer relationship is just an email inbox, if that's how you're communicating to them, then that is not going to align with their high touch want and need, where they potentially have an account rep, where they maybe have someone on site, where they'd have a staffed call center. Again, that relationship should connect that value prop to the customer segment. And different segments are going to require different levels of touch. So we want to think with the value prop that you deliver, what segment is getting what value prop, and how are you delivering that value prop to them? And then do those things align? If they don't align, that can often signal why you're having trouble with your customers. Going back to channels, it could be that maybe they are a high touch channel, but you're just trying to do a cold outreach system, or maybe you're just doing ads. Well, if that is how you're touching them, that may be why you have the sales problem. And then once you overcome that and you get over that sales problem, now they're finally a customer, but you're giving them a support ticket system or email system to communicate. And again, they're a high touch customer segment that wants that high touch. That customer relationship being through a portal is not going to be something that works for them. So again, as we walk through these external factors and how all four of these boxes that we've talked about to this point are connected, we can learn a lot about the business and often identify issues that the business previously hasn't been able to identify. Then the last piece of this external is the revenue streams, and it's how does money actually come in? These different sources of revenue that the business generates from their customer segments. So we want to look at all four of these elements and we want to think, what revenue streams are we generating? And we even want to think and ask, what ways are we not generating revenue off of the segments or off of the value props that we have? This is where we want to make sure that all of the things that we said above in value props, customer segment, customer relationship, and channels, that those align with revenue streams and that we're extracting the proper value into the revenue streams. You can often see mismatches here where they're getting a lot of value from one element, but they're getting almost none from the other element. And so we want to make sure that we align and we work together in thinking about those things. So when we then get the big picture, we again then look across all of these boxes and we think, how are these all connected? If something is not connected, we need to pause and ask, how and why is that the case? Next, we're going to go to the internal model. And again, this is going to be looking inside of ourselves. This is the operational backbone of this business. The first thing we're going to look at are the key resources. And the key resources are the things that the business requires to operate. It says what must exist for this business to function. This can look like physical assets, human assets, or intellectual assets. So we can split it into those three things. For some businesses, this is going to be physical things. These are going to be people. These are going to be vehicles. These are going to be, again, physical land or sites that, again, these are the key resources that you're pulling from to operate this business. We want to make sure we maintain those resources well, and we understand all the resources that are important to, again, delivering the bare minimum to the external elements of this model. Next, we have the key activities. The key activities are the things that must be performed to deliver its value proposition to the business and to operate successfully. So we want to ask, what are the critical things that we must do well? For some businesses that have a lot of employees and their employees are, say, on site with the customer, payroll may be one of the key activities, because if payroll is done wrong, you're going to interrupt the flow of your employees to your customer, and that interrupts your ability to actually do business. For others, this is going to look like specific things that you're delivering. So this can be reporting that you're doing. This can be the process that you run if you're manufacturing. Whatever those key activities are, we want to make sure that we understand we have to do, say, these 3 to 5 to 10 things well. And if we do all of these well, then we're going to deliver the internal stuff to the external party, and we're going to actually run a really good business. Next, we have the key partners. Who are the people you rely on? Every business has external partners. Sometimes this can be software, sometimes this can be insurance, sometimes this can be technology, sometimes, again, going back to that payroll thing, this can be the payroll provider if you're using external person or partner to process that. We want to think about who are these partners, and if one of these partners has an issue, it can cause an issue with our business. By understanding the key resources, the key activities, and the key partners, we put ourselves in a place where we know that if we do those key things, internal things well, that the business will deliver on all the value prop to the customer segments, and that things will be running well. If one of those doesn't get delivered how it's supposed to, that can jeopardize what is going on in the business. I've seen this time and time again. People think they understand the business, but when we go through this process, they realize that they have areas of weaknesses in here that they previously did not have identified. And it helps kind of clicks that light on and says, now we need to treat this more seriously. We've seen this with people that work with us. They say, well, this finance function is key for us because of whatever thing is happening in the business, but they don't have the backup, they don't have the support that they need. And so they find that they've got themselves on an island and they're struggling because of that. And then we come in and we can help solve that for them. Then the last part of the business model canvas is here, the cost structures. And what I tell people with the cost structures is this is what are the big costs that drive the business. We need to understand these costs. And frankly, the easiest way to understand these costs is to look at the profit and loss or income statement and say, what are the big things that we're spending money on? It's called the big number rule. Look at the 5 to 10 biggest numbers on there and the biggest cost on there. And those are the things that are driving your costs. And if we can optimize those big things, everything else will really fall off in the wash. One nuisance we want to make sure with here is that we understand the difference between the fixed cost and the variable cost. So make sure as you're looking at these cost structures to think in terms of fixed and variable and look at those and think about how changes in the cost structure change your ability to deliver or operate optimally. So we have the full picture now. Once you've gone through this process, again, we want to evaluate these relationships. It's great for seeing where things don't line up, but it's also great for planning in the future. When we go through this process with a client, we ask them, what new customer segments might you want to serve? When they answer that question, we said, okay, how do your current customer relationships allow you to do that or not allow you to do that? How do your current channels allow you to do that or not allow you to do that? How do your value proposition serve that particular customer? When we can think in terms of all those relationships, they can say, maybe we wanted to add government contracting as a customer segment, but then we realize that that's going to require a new channel, a new customer relationship, and a new value prop. Well, now you went from just adding, oh, it's really easy to add this one line, to now you have to add all of these other functions that support that. It can even go across to external. You say, maybe we are offering this new thing that's going to require us to purchase a key resource. Well, now that got a lot more expensive than what you may have previously thought. And so we want to think through all of these interconnections today. We want to think of what that can look like in the future as well. The best way to approach this is, of the current things that we're good at, of the value prop that we have, the customer relationship channels and channels that we have, what are the customer segments that we can add that wouldn't require us to change any of those other three elements? And if we can find that customer segment, we can just better utilize those other three areas and still be able to serve that. That's one of the most efficient ways to grow in a business. I sped through this today. We have a template. You can download the template. It'd be awesome if you would go through this, if you would share what you went through, but we're also here to help. So if you want to learn more, I have a video where me and my partner, Travis Woods, walked through this in depth. Hour-plus long video where we really go through this, so you can click on that video. But if you would love additional help, feel free to reach out. There's a link down in the description, and we would love to help you and walk you through this process. Thanks for watching. Until next time, have a great day.